It's Team Green versus Zeh German machine. These are the latest adventure sport touring motorcycles to roll out onto our tarmac spaghetti roads. So why are we comparing these two bikes specifically? Well, to start off, both of these bikes are built with an inline 4-litre engine and feature the same amount of fizz-bang doohickey with electronic aids like semi-active electronic suspension, ABS, traction control, riding modes, lazy boy cruise control, 6 spastic emus, and a well-displayed TFT screen. And that's just scratching the surface. However, one of these bikes is not like the other, and some could say that one of these bikes just doesn't belong. But reading off the brochure shouldn't justify your decision purely on peak pony powered figures. Because in the real world of riding, bragging rights won't make you a better rider. Comfort, practicality, exhilaration are the key factors that come into play, especially when living the life of touring pleasantry. So ideally, both of these two-wheeled machines are fair game. But the question is, which one of these bikes is the right choice for you? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Yes, comfort, probably the most important aspect to any sports touring fanatic. Perfect posture, a well-supported bottom, and lack of fatigue. These key factors weren't an issue for either of these two majestic wildebeests. But when it comes to parking your dot on the rider's seat, comfort on the Versys was definitely something to admire over the S1000XR, especially for a pillion. It is the Goldilocks pudding of simply being just right. The seat offers plenty of padding, and it is a suitable convex shape which allows the rider to slide side to side when manoeuvring through the tight twisty bends. Whereas the XR on the other hand is quite the opposite. It's more like having your ass stuck inside a kicked in jerry can. It's not really the most ideal seat, however it does provide a lot of back end support. With its low cut seat, you can still be committed to the bends without proposing to the road. And rather sitting on top of the bike like you would on the Kawasaki Versys, the BMW makes you feel like you are one with the ride. Now this is a big one for all of you hooligans out there. Both of these bikes are very manoeuvrable thanks to their wide bar setup and excellent suspension travel, even though the Kawasaki has a few kilos under its belt. Now this fat man can tear up the dance floor with sweet moves by ignoring the physics of gravity, but when the fat man comes into a marathon run with wide sweeping corners, you can imagine a completely different story. The suspension setup on the XR is stiffer than that of the Versys, even with the suspension dialed into sports mode. This German rabbit is built for speed and won't be taking any naps to allow this green Ninja Turtle to overtake anytime soon. This screaming banshee is far more exhilarating to ride on the long sweeping bends. Clearly more sport than touring. Just like you can chuck a tennis ball further than throwing a banana peel. That's how I'd compare the S1000XR to the Versys SE, especially when reaching top end speeds. But peak power at high RPM will only get you so far, especially when the course gets tight, and I mean really tight. The Versys is a much more forgiving ride when pairing in and out of the tight bends. No matter what gear you're in, the Versys always comes out strong, thumping its chest, passing Sport Rossi wannabe riders with ease. Low RPM overtakes? No problem. Second gear is most favourable for the XR. That is of course if you're wanting to add more fun factor through the hinterlands. It will pick up the pace pretty quick, making it a hard bike to catch, but the Versys certainly won't be too far behind. With great speed, stopping power must be achieved. There are no wooden paddles to be felt on either of these bikes. Both the BMW and the Kawasaki provide a very progressive feel when applying pressure on the levers. But I gotta say, the BMW packs more bite when engaging in an emergency stop situation. Nor do you feel like you're about to be catapulted off the rider's seat and into a cage's rear window. Kawasaki, I'm looking at you. Now when it comes to the technical gizmo stuff, There's a little bit more tinkering involved with the XR. Provided with the abundance of information, I don't want to make this video over an hour long because there is a lot of bloody details to cover. So I'll only cover the basics. Starting off with the interface, navigating through the switchgear was much easier on the Kawasaki, especially when it comes to customizing your ride. The BMW was a little bit more tedious when trying to find Dynamic Pro mode, which is just a fancy wank factor way of saying custom mode. I ended up finding myself watching a YouTube video on how to engage this particular setting. Honestly, you need to spend a whole day reading how everything works on the BMW for dummies. There's a lot going on with both these bikes, but give it time and you'll have no trouble finding out what does what. Now for the TFT display, the BMW is something to drool over. It's easy to read and super smooth. It's like watching my favourite movie on a 4K TV. Now let's quickly race through the use of accessories that come standard on the Kawasaki and BMW. As far as wind protection goes, the windshields are both adjustable, but the BMW has a quick action lever on the side, which is much easier to get to. But I did, however, find the Versys offered better wind protection when riding on the highway. A bigger screen for the XR would be preferred. The quick shifter, better on the BMW, as it's like pressing on a soft sponge followed by a positive click. Center stands, the Kawasaki scores the biggest points on this one, as it is easier to get it standing on its two legs. LED lights, both ridiculously bright, though the car in front will think that the sun has just landed inside their vehicle, but I gotta say I do love the cornering lights on the Kawasaki. The more you lean, the more visibility you achieve. Pretty cool stuff. Oh yeah, and before I forget, just so I can get you riders screaming with envy, here in Australia the Versys heated hand grip system doesn't come standard. Yeah, talk about taking the piss. It's probably not needed here in Queensland, but I do enjoy an early winter morning ride, and heated hand grips are a must-have. And speaking of grips, the BMW S1000XR does have very slight bars through the handlebars, but it's a huge improvement from the previous model's hornet's nest stuck inside the mirrors and handlebars. As for the Versys, I didn't find the tips of my fingers going numb when travelling on the highway, so that most certainly is a big plus when travelling long distance. Both these bikes are great commuters, and racking up the miles shouldn't be an issue. The BMW S1000XR features a 20-litre tank with a 4-litre reserve, with fuel consumption averaging between 6.7 to 6.5 litres per 100. And as for the Versys, you're looking at an extra litre over the BMW, with an average fuel consumption of 6.5 to 6.4 litres per 100. Tomatoes, no real difference covering range. It just depends on how you ride your bike to the next destination. Now I really wanted to mention the pannier boxes in this video, but unfortunately, we never received them.
You bloody what, mate?
Sorry. But anyway, with that aside, both the BMW and Kawasaki come standard with the rear top box mount, provided that you buy the top of the Waza BMW S1000XR Tourer version. Get your wallet screaming because this is $6,000 dues more than Mr. Versys over here. Ouch. So what's your flavour? Tell me what's your flavour. Both of these bikes are fantastic machines, and I can honestly say it's a hard decision to make on which one I personally prefer. To put things simply, imagine yourself owning a dog, if you haven't already. If you're looking for the Labrador of sports touring motorcycles, the Versys ticks all the right boxes. It's reliable, forgiving, and will obey every command. It's comfortable to ride on a long journey, even with two in the saddle. You won't be disappointed. But if you're seeking for an energetic Staffordshire that's thrilling and keeps your heart racing like good old Blue used to, then the S1000XR would be the ideal dog for you. It's never a dull moment when twisting the wrist right back. It has a strong bite of addiction that's nearly impossible to let go of. So try not to get too carried away with this animal between your legs. Now I hope my video has provided good information that you can take into account when deciding on which of these bikes you decide to ride. But in all honesty, chuck a leg over and ride both of these machines, because at the end of the day, your opinion matters the most. Which motorcycle sings to your riding spirit? What type of riding do you most enjoy? Figure out who you are and what you enjoy. There you'll find the answer. If you're seeking for more information on either of these bikes, head over to our official YouTube channel at 60 Degrees. Or head down to our description tab below and click on the link. Subscribe to our channel for more motorcycle related content and a bit of old school stuff as well. So with that, my fellow riding enthusiasts, get on your two wheels and free the soul. Thanks for watching. Ride or die, ride or die.
ride or die, ride or die, ride or die, ride or die, blind, know that they ride or die.
Felt the wind off that one.